Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's play some more Foundation, shall we? Picking up where we left off with our guide for complete beginners, and we're working on making money. Looks like we have a lot of people who are unemployed, and that's okay because we can easily create jobs for them. Actually, I think, did I have... Yep, I could hire another butcher. And, okay, good. What about another berry picker, huh? Indeed. Excellent. So, we topped off our tools. We sold a little bit and made 15 coins. Now, what we can build that's new would be, let's see, the butcher, the hunter's hut, the sheep farm. So the sheep farm and the weaver's hut and the tailor's workshop are expensive. So it's going to take us a second to get those babies online, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually. We'll speed it up. And I do have 2 unemployed. So let's open the royal book. Let's go to buildings and see where can I put these folk. Do I want to do any more stone mining? Probably not, but I could hire somebody at the warehouse. And even somebody at the granary. At least give them something to do in the meantime. Alright, so how's our second warehouse doing? It is filling up. Wood planks. Excellent. That is enough money to buy a sheep farm. And, we need 3. I was a little bit over eager there. I don't want to do any levies at all. We're going to wait. We could promote people as another way to make some money, but I think we'd be best served by getting clothing online. Housing insufficient. Well, it appears that they're building a house right there, so we'll be okay. And it looks like they're telling me they have no wood. Okay, well, that's upsetting. So we do probably want to make another lumber camp then, and maybe closer to these trees, shall we? I can afford a sheep farm. So a sheep farm does make a bit of noise, and that's okay. So we can drop this baby over here. Now the thing about the sheep farm is I'm actually going to maybe put it here. You build it, and we'll rotate it. Well, no. Yeah, that's actually fine. But then you have to click on it, and we're going to need to paint an area for our sheep, but we have to wait for it to get built. Lumber camp costs 10, so we could wait for that. It's all turning into planks, it is. Nothing wrong with that. So you see how we're bringing 2 tools. once we build this, we should get 1 tool back because of our edict. And here comes all the stuff. I was going to say, is anybody here looking to move in? Indeed. 2 people. We need people to work here at this sheep farm, by golly. We found some. Alright, and now we have enough. If we want to buy a lumber camp. Actually, look at that. We're up to 23 wood. We're fine. We have so many people working on wood that it should balance out. It's just that we're making so many planks. Now, we can, if we want, say, you know what? That's entirely too many planks. And we can stop, you know, the amount of planks that we have by adjusting the number so that they'll get to that number and then they will cease, you know, at that point. By the way, it is also worth mentioning, if you need something for a quest, you could push this button right here for stockpiling so that you save it up and don't use it for anything. It's a nice little way to make sure they don't use your resources on you. And the sheep farm is coming in. We just need the wood. So this is another good that the sheep farm, and because of that, we probably want to get rid of this. Not refuse, just cancel it. And we can set, for example, we could set wool right here. I'm being very, very stingy with my money because I want to make the rest of this line. Alright. Almost done. I'm selling everything above 10. That's fine. Okay, great. So now we have the sheep farm built, and we need to paint the pasture. Now, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to assign 2 people to work here. And as you start painting, it's going to dynamically update and tell you if the field that you're painting is workable by your employees. So what I'm going to do is give them, you know, an enormous area, and it's still too small, and it says no, 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 and then now it says it's adequately sized, adequately sized, adequately sized, too large, so we'll take some off. There we go. And we will stop painting, and now there's another area for this which has been painted in. So you'll actually see it's really difficult because of the trees, but there is a little sheep in here. Now, the sheep themselves, it takes a second to produce any wool because, first of all, the workers aren't here, and second of all, the animals aren't mature yet. So even though we can't build the rest of the assembly, it doesn't matter because we have to get the wool online. We have to get more sheep and have them grow. And the fact that there's trees here, as far as I've seen it, does not matter. And they're saying, I don't have raw materials. Well, don't worry about that. You'll get them. Once our employees get here. The raw materials would be the sheep, by the way. They just take a second. Like, there's one. And this explains it right here. You're not missing raw materials. It says missing mature livestock. So that's what we need. So we'll have to wait for that. All right. Picking back up after a short break there, we've got 3 people who want to come live here. Fantastic. Oh, and we got some notification. Progressing with the estates. Our village has caught the interest of the estates of the realm. They anticipate splendid monuments which will undoubtedly define the future of your people. So, again, you can dismiss this advice or take it. And I like to just take most of the advice. It gives you something to do. You can always click X if you want to just abandon it. There's no penalty for abandoning the advice. It's just kind of shaping your journey and giving you ideas about some of the game systems. And what they want to do, what they want us to do is improve our manor house and raise our splendor for our labor estate so that this will give us labor splendor. Now, when you're building decorations like we did here with the rose bush so that our house would go to the medium quality, that is done in the build menu under just regular decorations, common decorations. And you'll see that there's a beautification symbol, the flower with a number of how much it'll affect. And that is just for beauty, for property levels and things. But the splendor for labor, kingdom, and clergy are how ornamental your structures are of that particular type. So, for example, the manor house, tax office, or the Great Hall, which are both manor houses. If I click progression, you'll see that manor house is in the labor tree. So if you're building something of type manor house and then you add on splendor, you're going to be creating labor splendor generally, which is indicated by this green kind of rose. Then kingdom, if you're building your castle and you're decorating that, well, then kingdom splendor. And then the same thing, your monastery, you put decorations on your scriptorium and your herb garden and your dorm and stuff, then you will raise your clergy splendor. And the splendor, as it goes up, it affects your influence cap, which is like how much clergy influence you can get total, or labor influence you can get total, and you can spend those influence currencies on different things in the game. For example, like opening up trade routes or doing mandates, which we'll look at later. But right now they just want us to make this better. And that's no problem. Now, I do want to correct something that I said before. I'm learning about this game all the time. I stream the game still, and I keep learning. If you right-click on the taxation tracker, intuitively, I thought that this number was showing you how much money people were paying you. So you could see the value you were getting, but this is not what this is doing. I explained it wrong. I apologize. It's actually showing you, like, 0 means that your tax collector has been here and collected all of the taxes so that they don't owe any taxes. So this doesn't give you any idea of how much money each place is paying you. That is better seen in the tax screen, I think. You could click on the house itself, but that doesn't really tell you. But what the taxation tracker does is give you a great indication for how much people are paying and how much they owe. If you see, for example, like this number goes up, it's not how much they're paying, it's how much they owe. And if it keeps going up and up, it can cap out. I think it caps at 20. And then after that point, you can't collect taxes from them anymore. It's like their taxes are in arrears. And this gives you the idea that I need to build another tax office. Like I need to just build another one over here so that the tax collector can come out and do a better job of getting taxes. This will affect your income profoundly by adequately collecting your taxes. Because it's one thing, like, you can raise your tax rate all you want, but if you're not actually getting the taxes because the tax collector is not getting there, you're going to be sad and your money's going to trickle in and you're going to lose money. This happened to me. I was completely unaware that my coverage was insufficient. Now, you see, we promoted our tax collector, and so their productivity is 50%. So they're only half effective because they're a commoner right now. They started as a serf. They're 25% effective. At a commoner, they're 50%. Becoming a citizen is a long way off. To even get citizens, we have to get paved roads, which is far down on the progression tree right here in the labor tree. And that's getting 75 labor splendor and 50 prosperity isn't hard, but 75 labor splendor is going to be is something that we'd have to really commit to. And so that's not happening for a while. So getting more efficient tax collectors isn't the answer. In the short term, what we need to do is build another manor tax office. Now, we don't need to do that at the moment. What we need to do is just keep an eye on it and see these right down here. These owe 3. You know, the church owes us some money. It's time. Actually, sorry, that's not the church. That's this house right here. It's pointing to the center of this property. I thought this was over the church. It's not. The church doesn't actually pay us taxes, but it does provide service needs for our people. Speaking of service needs, if you mouse over happiness, you'll see that the only thing that people are unhappy about is taxes. Service is not an issue. If you start seeing service needs as a problem, come to your church and look at the weekly attendance. If you see that people are filling this up and your population is way over the amount that you can fit in your church, then you might need to expand the church. Right now, you know, I only had 9 people come this week, so I'm not stressing about it and nobody's complaining about it, but it's what you want to keep your eye on. Okay, so that's just a little divergence about the tax window, and you get that by right-clicking the coins in the upper left of the top ribbon for your taxation tracker. All right, so let's go back to our manor house, and I'm going to click the hammer for edit building, and you can see there is a whole tab for estate decoration. There's also monument decoration, and the icon is different. Up here in the lower right, it's like stars as opposed to the labor splendor symbol, but both of them, as you can see in the bottom right, the passageway, the weather vane, these are adding on to the labor splendor, and you can see how much you get from each thing. So they want us to build a weather vane. So if we click weather vane, it takes 5 stone and 1 tool, and you could just snap it, and you could click it up here, and just then you could build this. Now we have so much stone that why not build another one? 2 weather vanes, and then why not build a passageway on the side here? You know, this passageway, it does take 10 planks and 4 stone and 3 tools, but it does add 3 splendor. The weather vane adds 3 though, so we might not need that. But you can go to estate decoration. You could say, hey, you know what? I'd like a wood shed, or I'd like a fence, or a rustic shed, or a roofed stable to go next to this. Now, again, my tendency when I was starting out was to snap everything. I was like, okay, this has to go right next to the manor house, but it doesn't. You see, I have a road already built here. I could build this right here, this fence stable, and it will give me the benefit. Now, if I go over here, it'll say too far, but right here, I could just play along with the organic nature of how my road has laid out, and I can kind of move this stable to be right here, as long as people... actually, nobody even needs to get to this. This is purely decorative, so all you have to do is make sure it doesn't block this is the forester, I believe, them from doing their job. And then we could just click apply changes and we'll get these built in. Now, somebody has to come and build it, but we'll get there. And what we want to do is raise our labor splendor to 25 or more. I'm going to click progression so that we unlock the second tier in labor. So this is kind of like the default tier 1, tier 2 here. And if we do that, we can get a bailiff, we can get a treasury so we can hold more than 500 coins. We can build fortifications to make people feel safe, and that's necessary for upgrading houses, etc. So we'll do that, and I'll unpause the game and just let people get to that. And let's see how we're doing. So I'm going to pause it just to talk to you briefly about this. You see how it says housing insufficient? I am still adjusting to this, but in many management building games, when you see a indicator like that pop up, my tendency is like, oh my god, I gotta fix that right away. In Foundation, what I have discovered is just wait for a while. Wait for a while to see if that dismisses, because what happens is they're saying housing is insufficient, but really that just means that somebody doesn't have a house. But as long as I have enough residential area painted, which I do, you just have to wait for them to build the house. And until the house gets built by one of your builders, this is going to be here. But as soon as that happens, then they're not going to complain anymore. So just wait for a bit before you paint more area, because you might not actually need it. You might just have to wait for the builder to do that job. And that goes for everything. Like they might say service need, like I need service. But then you check your church and okay, you see our weekly attendance going up, but we're not at the capacity. It just means somebody needs to get to the church, and they're like on their way walking to it. Now, you might want to build one closer to their house, but generally I just wait for those things. And if the notification persists, then I know I have an issue. Now, that doesn't apply to like these notifications that appear above the house generally. Those are usually some kind of goods shortage. This is just waiting for the animals to mature. All right, we're up to 42 coins. And we could check this out. Taxation tracker. Look at this. I got a lot of taxes owed, but this is the highest one so far, which is 4. And it could go all the way up to 20 before it's a concern. Somebody just came and bought a bunch of planks, which I love. Another tip I would give is as you're playing, right now, early game, it doesn't matter as much. And they bought a bunch of meat. Keep an eye on your reserves of what you're selling. And as you get more and more money, and you progress more and more, you're actually going to want to sell less of your stuff, like planks, especially, because when you go to build bigger structures, like if you want to build a monastery or a castle or something, these take so many resources that your plank production is going to be absolutely stretched to the limit. Everybody's going to want to use it to upgrade their houses. So you might actually stop selling it because the profit you get from selling it is not worth it, and you can make just plenty of money on taxation. But early game, the taxes aren't a huge amount, so selling makes sense. Now I have 129 bucks, and that means I could start building the next items for the Weaver Hut and the Tailor's Workshop in goods production. So these can't do anything until we get wool anyway, but it's nice to have them started and to sink the money into them so that once we do get wool, we're ready to go. Now, I have heard that the trees, I was wrong about this too. This is not definite, but from what people have told me, the trees may inhibit how many sheep can graze at your pasture. So you might need to remove the trees to get optimum output, but at the same time, maybe you just have to paint a bigger pasture area. Some of the fine points in the game are kind of opaque, And I believe that's by design. It's meant to be more casual, but there are some things where you wish you could just know exactly like how many sheep could be in this pasture. They tell you how many people will work it efficiently, but they don't tell you like necessarily how many sheep are going to be there. Maybe in the output itself you can see that. But anyway, the weaver hut, you can see it does not produce noise, so we can put this wherever we want. There's a house here. It's a good idea, of course, to put it close to the wool. Now, that's another issue that I'm working to understand, but I'm still trying to suss out exactly how goods are transported when they're in demand at a secondary production link in the chain. And here's what I mean. They are going to be producing wool here at the sheep farm. And then I want the wool to go into the weaver hut so they could turn it into cloth. But if I'm storing wool in a warehouse, they might bring the wool over to the warehouse and first, and then take the wool from the warehouse to the weaver hut, which is going to take forever. Unless the warehouse is right next to this. So in Anno, for example, if you built another production building next to, like a higher tier production building next to a lower tier production building, and it was closer than the warehouse, then the AI would deliver the goods where it was needed at the weaver's hut, for example, without going to the warehouse. But in my experience, what I've observed in this game is they'll actually go to the warehouse even if this building is next to it. So I'm still tinkering with this, and I've been chatting with people, but I think that it's better than, once you get the weaver hut built, to not have wool stored in your warehouse at all, so the only place they can deliver it to is where it's needed. And you use the warehouse and the granary just to store goods that are going to be displayed in the market, but not necessarily for goods that are going to be turned into something else, because it will increase the length of time that it'll just add all this travel time. Now, I could be wrong about that, and if you, in your experience, have seen that that's not the case, please let me know, but that's what I've observed. So I'm going to put the weaver hut right here. Okay? And I'm also going to put the tailor's workshop over here too. There. I spent a bunch of money. So a courier is approaching. Fantastic. And if you zoom out, you should be able to see the courier somewhere on the map. They'll be noted by some symbol, unless they're already here. No, not yet. This is the trader from Northbury. While we're waiting, you can see the trees going down. I'm just going to right-click on this. Yeah. So the tax collector is doing work nearby. But we might need to build another tax office down here if it just doesn't get better. Now, if you wanted to work on your pasture, you could select this for wood cutting. However, this is why my setup is not great, and it's something you do early game, but it's not necessarily what you want to do when you have more choice. The issue is I actually don't want to cut down the trees here, because maybe these trees right here, but if you cut down the trees, then the boar won't be there. it'll get rid of the boar, as far as I understand it. So yes, it'll make way for the sheep, but then my hunting operation will fall apart. Now, once you have enough money, you can just import boar and not worry too much about that. Oh, look, tax collecting has happened over here, so we are doing okay on tax collection. One should be fine for now. Maybe for every 50 you need one. Here comes the courier with a little scroll there. We have 3 people unemployed. We'll put them to work soon. But in the meantime, I could go over to buildings and see what do I need people to do. I could have them mine, but I have so much stone. Now we'll just wait. Awesome. So the courier is on the way. We've explained the taxation tracker. We have added 1 weather vane, which this you could see our labor splendor is slowly going up as we decorate. We used our money that we made from selling to build a weaver hut and also a tailor's workshop. Those are coming in. And we still are at 83 happiness. There's a -2 on service. And look at that. Well, this might be an issue. We might need to expand our church, given the fact that this is maxed out. So, it might be something we need to adjust to provide service for everyone. We will see. Everyone, I hope you're still finding this series to be useful and fun. I want to say thank you so much for watching. I will check you in the next episode. Take care.